Okay, it's Jameezy just doing another Cleveland Browns report or whatever on this one. Do this one on the 2011 NFL Draft. So there's a lot of discussion in Cleveland right now about who we should take in the 2011 NFL Draft. I've heard Fairley, I've heard AJ Green, I've heard Cam Newton, I've heard Bowers, I've heard Patrick Peterson, Prince Amukamara. There's a lot of players that people definitely want to take in this draft. And we're picking at 6, so of course some of those guys are going to go before they even get to number 6. Patrick Peterson, that's the guy I want to talk about for right now. He's a guy that I would love to have. I would love to team up with Joe Hayden, because Joe Hayden, T.J. Ward last year, even Abram Elam, a lot of us in Cleveland don't like him a lot, but with T.J. Ward back there and Joe Hayden, that really made him play a lot better than he did the year before that. He played a lot better, and his play went up. So he's good back there. So Patrick Peterson's a guy a lot of people talk about. I'm a guy that's in favor of drafting him, but you got to keep in mind that with the 40 time he ran in the combine, keep in mind that I'm like a lot of people. 40 times don't mean anything. Joe Hayden ran like what, a 4.4, 4.5 last year. I remember a lot of people were talking, oh, Joe Hayden, he's too slow to be a corner, and I saw that guy all last season behind guys catch up to him, recovery speed for an interception. Joe Hayden was just sick last year. Where's Kyle Wilson at? He was a guy that everybody, we should have drafted Kyle Wilson, or that safety from Texas. He plays for Seattle now. I didn't hear anything about that guy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's a beast, but I haven't heard anything about Kyle Wilson or Earl Thomas. I haven't heard about him yet. Joe. So 40 times don't really mean anything. Really, keep that in mind always, and also keep in mind that we could have a good secondary back there. We could have Joe Hayden, Patrick Peterson. We could have Abram Elam, T.J. Ward, or whatever we put back there. But if you don't have a pass rush, it's really hard for DBs to succeed. If you remember back in the 80s when we had 2 great corners, and then John Elway still did the drive when it's no pass rush, equals the secondary can't do that much. So keep that in mind too. So I don't make me look like I'm just wanting cornerbacks or whatever. I know that you need a pass rush, and that's something that we don't have. But yeah, Patrick Peterson, he's a guy that looks good, and I could definitely see being a lockdown corner in the NFL. Whether he's better than Hayden or not, I don't know, but he definitely looks like he can be just as good, or maybe better. I don't know. Here's the problem in Cleveland. I want to keep this in mind. When he ran that 4.3, when he outshined all the all the corners, safeties, whatever, all the DBs at the combine, the rest of them looked pretty horrible. Besides Prince Amukamara, the rest looked pretty horrible. They couldn't catch or anything. It was kind of sad to watch, actually. But I think that his stock went up. It went really far up. Like now, I'm not even sure if he'll even be anywhere near number 6. Man, he might go at like number 3 or something. I really don't even think he's gonna be there anymore. Prince Amukamara is still there, but I don't know. He's not really. We need the best guy. Like, if you're not the best at your position in the draft, I don't even really want you being picked. I don't really want the second best cornerback. Last year we got Joe Hayden. He was the first rated corner. Great pick. We could have took Kyle Wilson because for the reasons that they thought he was more physical or whatever the reasons they came up with for that. But he was like second or third rated corner in that draft or whatever. And I'm glad we didn't take him. That was a big save move right there. Because Rob Ryan, he wanted Kyle Wilson. Believe that. And you see he went to New York with Rex Ryan. Alright, another guy. Nick Fairley. You see the guy from Alabama. Bowers, we know he could possibly go first. There's really not even much point to talking about him at all. Fairley, though. Nick Fairley from Auburn. When I saw the national championship, first thing I was thinking, like, this guy could be a stud in Cleveland. But then I started thinking, we're going to 4-3 now. We do have Ruben there at DT, and of course we would need another one. But I'm thinking, like, man, don't we really need a pass rusher? Like, I want a pass rusher now. You got Joe Hayden back there. You got T.J. Ward. I think before I want a defensive tackle, I think I want a pass rusher. And I know right now we're just short on line, period, right now. Like, we don't really have, like, a lot of linemen. So yeah, that's definitely something that we have to work on. But this is, remember, keep in mind, this is supposed to be a defensive lineman type draft where there's linemen everywhere. So who's to say we can't get one in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round? You know, keep in mind that we acquire picks throughout the draft through trading next year's picks and doing stuff like that. So I think there's defensive linemen all throughout this draft. Period. I think they're all throughout this draft. I don't think you have to get one in the first round necessarily. Now, I will say this. That lineman from Alabama, I remember Marcel Darius. I remember when I first saw him in the spring game last year for Alabama. And I'm like, this guy is going to be a stud in the pros. And that's why his stock is going up. Fairley's just dropped. Now, I think Fairley is going to be a good football player. A lot of people, you know, he didn't work out as good as they wanted. But some guys just aren't workout guys. Joe Hayden wasn't a workout guy last year. And period. T.J. Ward, I didn't even hear his name in the safeties discussion last year. And matter of fact, someone in the comments could please leave a comment saying who actually had a better season between T.J. Ward and Earl Thomas. Eric Berry, I think he had a pretty good year. You know, I remember seeing his name on NFL Network a couple times. Though I think Hayden had a better year than Berry. But, you know, Berry playoff team, Chiefs, and he had a good year. He's not a bust. And I definitely wanted him last year, too. But T.J. Ward, I don't remember hearing him really mentioned at the combine. That's why I was kind of shocked when we picked him. I didn't really even know who he was. Though I did see that Ohio State-Oregon game. But he was a guy that I'm like, wow, T.J. Ward, who is that? And it turns out the guy was a straight stud. Definitely an assassin back there in the defensive secondary. Okay, guys, running back, we already know we're not drafting Mark Ingram, so really no point in talking about running backs. We already have Peyton Hillis. Montario Hardesty, who knows what his situation is. You know, maybe he'll get healthy and have a good year. I don't really know. Let's see, linemen. Of course, we're not really looking at offensive linemen in the draft, though we will need some way. I'm not sure what the NFL lockout with the free agency situation is looking like, but at some point, and I'm going to tell you guys this right now, at some point, we're going to need a right tackle. At some point. You know, I'm not saying that we have to draft one in the first round, because obviously this year is not even an offensive line deep type of draft anyway. Because I'm not really hearing a lot of big names for offensive line like the year Joe Thomas and Jake Long were coming out. So, you know, with that situation, I have to keep that monitored. But we are definitely going to need a right tackle at some point. And, you know, if you look at Joe Thomas, like, the line is where it all starts on offense. No line equals no offense, period. Sometimes, you know, the quarterback has no time to throw, and it's ugly. It can get ugly like it did last year at some points. Quarterback, Cam Newton. I'm a big fan of Cam Newton, and I'm one that actually compares him to Ben Roethlisberger. Where these Jamarcus Russell comparisons come from, I have no idea. I'm not saying he's the only guy out there, man. I'm not saying that at all, but I think he's a big talent, and I think he does. You know, I'm sorry, Browns fans, but he does kind of remind me of Ben Roethlisberger. And if you're a real Browns fan, you will admit that Ben Roethlisberger is a good quarterback. You don't have to hate on the guy. He's a good quarterback, maybe a great quarterback. Who knows? But Cam Newton reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger a lot. Man, they're really those kind of mobile kind of guys that can break through sacks, and I kind of like that about Cam. I can see that in Cam a lot. And I definitely would, you know, if he's there on the board, I think Buffalo might go at him, take a chance on him. But if he's there at our pick, do you pass up on Cam Newton? I don't know how you do it, man. I really don't. Let's see. A.J. Green. A.J. Green, he's a guy that could go to the Bengals. I would hate that, man. I hate the Bengals so much. I hate that team. I would really hate to see that. But he's a guy that could definitely go to the Bengals in the draft. But if not, if they don't take a chance on him, I think if he's on the board, Cam Newton's off, I think you got to pull the trigger on Green. If Patrick Peterson's off, Green. If Fairley, and I'm looking at Fairley or Green, I'm going Green. Like I told you guys, I'm not really that big on taking defensive tackles that high, really. I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan of taking these. I think we need a pass rusher first before we need like a big clogger or run stopper. I really do want a pass rusher. We have none. Well, I guess you could say, you know, Matt Rolfe and a couple. But last year, did they really get sacks or like that? Not really. But A.J. Green, explosive looking receiver. He looks really, really good. And I would love to see him in a Browns uniform. I think he could definitely be a guy to help the team out in the draft. But, you know, Colt McCoy's a quarterback. You know, of course, we got to build around him. I don't think we really had a lot of weapons for him last year. And I'm still not a guy. I like Colt McCoy. I like what he did last year. but I'm still not quite sure if he's the franchise quarterback yet. Not quite yet ready to label him the franchise quarterback. The reason why is because he only played a half a season last year. He did look good. He had moments where I'm like, yeah, mate. I can see why people compared him to Troy Aikman and Joe Montana when he came out. You know, even though it was Drew Brees, and he had some good moments. And I think if you put a good team around him, he could definitely be like an explosive guy in the NFL, and definitely become a Pro Bowler one day. But then again, it's like, man, he threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns. That's never a good sign. But again, that's an average season for a rookie. So, of course, you want to see him again, see him progress. He's a rookie quarterback. So it's really too early to make judgments on him. But I'm not like a lot of guys in Cleveland that already want to put him in the Hall of Fame. I'm not putting him in Canton yet. I'm just not going to do it. I think he's a good quarterback. Would I buy his jersey? Yeah. But the Browns, I don't know how you can just kind of snoot your nose up at Cam Newton if he's there on the board. If you're looking at, I'm going to put it this way. If Peterson's on the board, you take Peterson. If somehow Bowers winds up at our pick, how that happens, I have no idea. If Marcel Darius, okay, if those guys are on the board, of course you pick them. But I'm saying, if Peterson's gone, and I'm looking at, and then let's say AJ Green goes to the Bengals, all right, and some other guys. Let's say if we're looking at the top of the board, we're looking at Fairley and Cam Newton as our top guys on our board. They're the number one guys left, the top players in the draft left, and you have Cam Newton sitting there, or Fairley from Auburn. I'm pulling the trigger on Cam Newton. I'm gonna take that chance. It's a high risk kind of pick. It's risky, especially for a team that's trying to rebuild or whatever. And of course, you know, we already have a quarterback or whatever. But like I said, I'm high on Cam Newton. I think he'd actually translate to the NFL. You know, I'm not sure if a lot of people see that. I know a lot of people in Cleveland, whenever I bring it up, they always want to compare him to Jamarcus Russell. I don't know why they want to do that. You know, people didn't compare Colt McCoy to Tim Couch. I don't know where this whole Jamarcus Russell thing came in. Jamarcus Russell wasn't a highly athletic quarterback. He didn't play for Auburn. I don't know where this whole thing came from, but that's a whole other thing. But I definitely would take a look at Cam Newton if he's there and certain pieces off the board. But I'm saying right now, if AJ Green's off the board and Cam Newton's there, I'm taking Cam Newton. You know, Fairley, I like Fairley, and like I said, the first thing I thought about when I saw him in that national championship, I'm like, man, I like this guy. Like, man, he could be a really good quarterback, really good defensive tackle for us. But I don't know if I really want to take a defensive tackle at that pick. I can't do it. It's nothing against linemen. Like I said, I would love to have Marcel Darius. There's a lot of, you know, some of these defensive ends coming out and linebackers, and I don't have anything against defensive players, defensive linemen or whatever. It's just a defensive tackle I just can't see taking that high. You know, I just don't see it right now this year taking a defensive tackle at that pick. I just can't do it. You know, maybe Heckert and Holmgren can do it, and Shermer can do it. I can't do it. I don't think I could do it. AJ Green, like I said, he's a guy that I would definitely look at if he's on the board. You know, but it just still, I keep seeing Cincinnati's there, Cincinnati's there, Cincinnati's there. And I think there's a good chance they pick him. Even though they did add Shipley and they still have Ocho, I still think they pick AJ Green for some reason. Just like I think that Marcel Darius is going to go high, and Fairley could still go high, but his stock is definitely dropped. But Patrick Peterson, if you would have asked me 2 weeks who we would draft at number 6, I thought for sure Patrick Peterson was going to be at our pick, but that's not going to happen. His stock just went way up, and we know what happens last year. When guys' stocks go way up, their position in the draft and where they were projected to go goes up. So he won't be there at number 6. There's a chance. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he can never be there at number 6. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I will say there's like a 70% chance that he goes higher than number 6. You know, yeah, we could trade up, but I just don't think the Browns are going to trade up in this draft. I think they're content at number 6, and they'll draft the best player available. And I do think there were signs out of Berea, you know, from Heckert and Holmgren and all the rest of the guys, they would like a defensive lineman. But how they pull the trigger on Fairley at number 6, I don't know. There's no way I could do it. But like I said, you know, some things to put in perspective or whatever. Cam Newton, that's not a guy you should just automatically just say no.